Welcome to Thriving Rockstar with Alex Draken. Today's guest is Chrism. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So, what are you currently up to?
Well, at the moment I'm mixing my new Simulacrum album with it's the band that I've been mostly involved in since I was a teenager. So it's been going on for a pretty long time, and we are working on our third album at the moment. And
Mm,
should be out time next year.
awesome, awesome. We're in the same camp. My band's also on their third album, working at that. Cool, very cool. And you're in a lot of bands, man. Like you're in like four bands, or at least you're working
Yeah,
with. Hmm.
Eden's Curse quit in May.
Mm,
Uh, I did to call it a day. They had done like five studio albums and a live album before that, and it was getting pretty big, but touring costs are like huge nowadays, and
mm,
people are kind of lazy to come to shows, so it was just wasn't quite paying back all the money we were putting into the band. So at least I don't know. We called it quits, but never know that we'll be sometimes do a reunion show or something in the future.
sure,
But
sure. I mean,
um,
I'm sure
only
nobody.
two.
Mhm. I'm sure nobody in the band quit. It was just like just kind of quit for that project,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Everybody,
Hmm.
all of the guys are working in different bands also, so it's kind of a lifestyle thing. If you're a musician,
Hmm.
you're never without any bands.
Yeah,
Except you have like a total nervous breakdown, and you have to like take a long break from the whole thing.
yeah, yeah. We'll get to that as far as mental health is concerned. But I took an interest in you because like you have a lot going on, and I also noticed you're into fitness. You don't even have to say that to some degree, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
huh.
I've been
Mhm.
working out since I was a teenager. Sometimes more and sometimes less, but I try to at least a couple of times a week do something just
Mhm.
to keep my head in good shape and also my body.
Right, right. And I like how you said your head in good shape first because many people don't realize that the point of going to the gym is more for mental health than it is for physical health, or at least it has that side benefit.
Well, it's definitely that's the main thing for me. Of course, it's cool to look like pretty lean on stage, but
Hmm.
I think music should anyway be like the number one thing when you're performing.
Hmm.
And I hope people came there to listen to music and not watch a bunch of fit guys on stage. So of course it's a boost if you look good,
Sure.
but with culture work is very stressing. Is because I do also video production and then I'm a musician and I do sound engineering.
Hmm.
So sports kind of helps you relieve pressure that's um, accumulating from all the other stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, and honestly, just being in good shape mentally, physically, definitely physically is going to help someone on a tour because there's the demands of just living that kind of lifestyle is physically demanding. It's taxing on the body.
Yeah, it is, and sometimes drinking's involved also in band activities,
Yeah,
and yeah, get it out somehow.
sure. Like, what's your philosophy around that? Like around drinking and partying in general.
Well, I used to do it a lot more when I was younger,
Uh huh.
but I'm I'm not a teetotaler, but I don't drink every weekend, so it's like I think it's like pretty normal. I might have a glass of wine with my dinner or beer in the evening while I'm watching a movie, but getting wasted, it's usually only on special occasions.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. But like, if you're on a tour, right? How is the drinking situation there?
Well, I can play if I'm drunk.
Yeah. How drunk can you be before it's just like you start like slurring your phrases a bit more than normal?
It depends how demanding the material is.
Right.
But if it's really technical, progressive metal band like Simulacrum is, then I can't be drunk.
Right.
But if it's something more basic, like just basic hard rock, then I can like drink a six pack before I go on stage.
You know, I had this.
But
Yeah.
but I don't do it really.
Hmm.
I have a couple of beers maybe after the show, but I don't really drink ever before the show.
Right. Right. Well, you know, it's funny. I had this similar conversation with Mats Hagen of Circus Maximus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he pretty much said the same thing. It's like if he's playing his like kind of more local music over there that he's filling in for, you know, if it's like basic stuff, then he can have a drink or two and just have fun. But if he's playing with Circus Maximus, then it's just he doesn't drink before he plays or during.
Yeah.
But I did catch him with a beer on stage, which was like shocking to me, and he was so on point. So it's like.
I might have also one beer on stage.
Uh-huh.
Like, then if you're moving all the time for an hour on stage and you drink one beer, it's just gonna burn right through you. So
Yeah.
It doesn't have any.
You can make the excuse that you're just putting in carbs for the workout.
Also, in Eden's Curse, I did this kind of beer trick that I played a keyboard solo while drinking a beer at the same time. So that was like pure showmanship. But I needed a beer for that.
Right. So you also do like production stuff, right? You were saying you do video production and audio production, like you're mixing some albums. What are you working on with that?
Well, now I'm mixing the Simulacrum album,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of hard mixing your own music because you get lost into all the small details that probably nobody else is going to hear. But I can't not work on everything. It needs to be perfect for me if I'm mixing my own music.
Yeah.
So it's taking kind of longer than I expected. But
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand, the songs that I have finished, I've maybe done like 60% of the album now. And it's sounding really, really solid and good.
Cool.
Happy how it's sounding up to now. There's just some more hours to be put into the rest of the songs.
Yeah. And is mixing something you've been doing for a while, like just production work as far as audio is concerned?
But the funny thing is that all of my skill sets that I've learned during the years, I'm like 35 now, and I started getting into rock music when I was 14 or 15.
Mm-hmm.
And back then I didn't have, of course, any money to pay for studios or nothing else, so I had to learn all of that by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on I went to study sound engineering, and then I went to the army. You have to do that in Finland. Like, everybody goes to the army.
Mm.
And then after the army, I studied media production, and I had a kind of an idea also that then I can do all my own music videos, and that's what I've been doing now.
That's cool.
Then it's kind of turned into a profession also. So I do both live sound engineering and studio engineering, and then I have my own media production company. So I have been producing music videos for bands like Battle Beast and Merja Lyytinen, who won the European Blues Guitar Award, and some pretty good, cool artists, and who can do cool stuff for them.
You know, one thing that occurred to me from studying some psychology is realizing that artists are like, they have this temperament that makes them very eclectic, and we want to do a lot of different things. And I think you channeled that in the best possible way, where it's like you're doing different things, but they're all interrelated and they all help each other. And you've picked up the skills that are peripheral to what you do.
Yeah, that's what I suppose was trying to do when I started studying all these other things, and I'm also like a mediocre graphics designer and can do web pages and stuff like that also.
Yeah, likewise. Hmm.
And that towards it. And then I've had to, of course, learn social media skills and marketing. So
Right, right.
it's all like fueled by this one band, Simulacrum, that I had when I was a teenager. I had a dream of being a rock star, and then I had to learn everything else, and
Right.
then actually turned into my profession.
When it comes to marketing, many artists, well, artists today are faced with new challenges that artists of yesterday weren't, which is if you are looking for support from labels and all that kind of stuff, they won't even pay attention to you unless you already have some attention on you and you've marketed yourself effectively and you're out there. And so having that as a skill is just, comes with the territory now.
Yeah, everybody has to be like it's how I'm gonna say this. It's kind of a sad situation for all these cool bands because lots of them will lose motivation and break up before they put enough time and money into it to actually get attention.
Hmm.
Because there are so many great bands now that are like, well, they don't get the attention because of the internet.
Right.
Everything, there's so much exposure. There's so many bands, and like people can't be bothered anymore searching through all the bands to find the great ones,
Hmm.
and really hard to somehow differentiate yourself why somebody should listen to you instead of the next band.
So tell me, like, what do you think makes what's an effective marketing strategy for a band? Like, what does that entail?
And there's two ways. You can either like go on a talent competition like Voice of America
What's that
and
again?
Voice of America.
Uh huh.
Oh, is it The Voice
The Voice,
in
yes.
America?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, The Voice. In Finland, it's called The Voice of Finland. So
Oh.
yeah, but you can either do that and you can get instant exposure, but probably you won't have a long career. Or then you can just like put the mileage in it and for 10 years keep every week posting a video or a picture on your Facebook and Instagram and all the future social media networks that's going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just put the mileage into it, then you're going to start getting a following.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. It's consistency and just persistence.
But definitely, if you can find a good label, they can help you with that.
Mm-hmm.
It like speeds up the process. If you have a good label, they get you all interviews and reviews for your albums and stuff like that, and maybe even pay for some ads for social media and
Mm-hmm.
promote your video. So
Right.
it speeds up the process, but you can do it by yourself, but you have to put a lot of work in it and a lot of time.
Right. Right. Yeah, I find it's tough to well, what bands don't realize oftentimes is that social media is about being social. In other words, you have to build a relationship with the people who you'd like to engage with, right?
Yeah, it's if you can be bothered getting to know your fans.
Yes.
um, This is nowadays. In the old times, like rock stars were on a pedestal, and they were like gods,
Yeah.
and everybody knew you. But that doesn't work anymore.
Uh-huh.
So you have to like get to know your fans, and you have to be prepared to give them autographs and photos after the shows, and
Mm-hmm.
and if this comes naturally to you, then it's of course much easier. Like I'm a pretty social guy, so I like getting to know my fans and hanging out with them after a show. So it's cool for me. But if you give them some love, then they're probably gonna give some love back, maybe buy a T-shirt and buy a CD and want your autograph on it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's that's how it works nowadays for 95% of the bands, I would say.
Right, yeah, and then definitely like in person, you gotta give as much attention because you're there with them and it's about them. You know, I totally get it. And I've heard a lot of recommendations as far as social media, like answer all your comments, and just be there with them. If someone took the time to leave a message, don't leave them hanging. Just show them you care, and then they'll come back for more.
And if somebody gives you some negative comments, then don't delete them. Just leave them there. That's another thing that if you start deleting all the negative stuff in your posts, then people are going to notice that also and think you can't take the credit.
Yeah, no, yeah. But of course, not to engage in them and add fuel to the fire there.
Yeah, not anyway. Post any kind. Just post something friendly, or then you can let the other fans tear the guy down.
Oh yeah, that's always the best.
Ignore the crap.
It's always the best when you have infantry in the field and they can handle, take on the battle. Yeah. So let's kind of like go into some like dietary stuff, because listeners of the show are pretty interested in that. So when you're at home, okay, so when you're at home, what, like you're saying, you try to work out once, twice a week at least, right?
Yeah.
And how do you approach that? Are you cautious about any kind of injury prevention? Is there anything you do that kind of like is directly to be translated to more limberness in the forearms or anything? Or explain that.
Well, I'm a pretty agile guy naturally. Like, I don't do terribly much stretching. I try to stretch before I start working out, just like for 5-10 minutes, maybe run 10 minutes on the running mat. I also play badminton. You know what badminton is? Kind of like tennis, but you play with a different kind of ball that never touches the floor. And it's a really fast-paced game, like interval training. I need to like stretch my legs and my ankles. And now that I'm over 30, I'm 35, so I have to really like stretch my Achilles heels because they get sore if I don't do it. But you wanted to know more about eating?
Yeah, no, I'm just curious how you approach that aspect of your life. So, but go on. So, as far as your weight training, what does that look like?
Because I maybe go one or two times a week to the gym, and then maybe 1 or 2 times to play badminton. So aerobic, and there's like weight training.
Right.
But if I'm at the gym, I usually just do a full body workout. So I do like maybe Arnold's Golden 6 training program, or then Vince Del Monte has a good program, but that requires a little bit more time. But it's like 10 moves and it's pretty brutal. So I haven't been doing that now. I've been just maybe doing Arnold's Golden 6 and then adding a couple of moves maybe at the end.
Cool. You ever you ever go for like heavyweight?
Sometimes, but if I have somebody at the gym with me to like back me up, but I might try a bench pressing record or whatever. So
yeah.
I'm not in the best form for bench pressing at the moment, but yeah.
I hear that. Just came back from the gym myself. So it's an important thing in anyone's life, but I think notably for musicians, just because it allows you to, from a stamina perspective, right? Because what you're doing seems to be, especially with the badminton and the circuit training, seems to promote just energy, right? And endurance and dexterity, right?
Yeah, you have to remember that you have to, before a gig, you have to load all the gear in, and then after the gig, you have to load it all out. So strength also never, it's never a bad thing if you're a musician.
Right.
Because like well, I play the keyboard, and that's probably the most heavy single instrument.
Yeah.
Because I like have this. I'm gonna show you guys. Come on, I'll show you my gear.
Sure. Yeah, go for it. See, what are you carrying?
I have this like full weight keyboard.
Oh my gosh, 88 key. Yeah.
Because I'm an old classical pianist,
Right.
so I like using the.
How much is that? How heavy is that?
It's like maybe 25 kilos with the case.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's not as much as the old ones were, like nearly up to 40 kilos with the case. So it's the new ones are getting lighter, but it's still like 5 kilos, and usually I carry it by myself. So
that is that it's pretty intense. I remember having to help our keyboardist with big 88 key like Kronos. So it's definitely something you should be fit for. And if anything, also working out properly can train your body to move in the proper patterns, like in the proper form, keeping like your shoulders back, thoracic extension, your hips in the right place, so you don't like throw out your back. So
back training is important always to keep a good form, and
yes,
and it's also kind of an awkward load to carry by yourself.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So you need to like have good core strength, and your back has to be in good form so you don't break anything.
Yeah.
It's shit to play a show with a broken back.
Oh gosh. Yeah. No, it's a very tough thing to have back issues and be touring on the level that you need to be carrying your own gear, which is most levels, unless you're like touring with a bus and a crew and everything, in which case different things apply.
I've been touring several tours on a big 9-liner bus, but I still had to carry my own keyboard. So
I hear that.
You have to be in a big band that you've got that you can afford to have like a crew of roadies with you. So that's sorry to break all your dreams about being a rock. You still have to carry your own instruments. Right.
Well, I like to say that the habits you build, making yourself strong and being able to, keep a sound body, and endurance and all of that from exercise on your way up as a musician. When you get to that point, you'll have built a solid base to at least, have a nice long career and a healthy one, hopefully.
Yeah, and it's enough to like at least try and go once a week to do something, but like 1 to 3 times a week. And if you do it every week for your whole life, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you're not gonna grow super big or get super good abs or anything, but you'll stay in good enough shape to be a musician.
Right. I think what needs to be stressed here is that people are overwhelmed by like these programs and stuff that are out there that say, work out 5 days a week, do this 2-hour workout. It could be overwhelming. That even putting in just the minimum, just make the habit of just coming in and just doing the basic things with good form and stuff like that, so you can just prevent injury and just sustain your career essentially, right?
Yeah, and another way, of course, keeping your cardiovascular, your circulation and your lungs in good shape is just to like not take the bus and walk or ride your bike. Do stuff instead of taking the easy way out and jumping on an electric scooter and going there. So,
right. Take the opportunities.
Yeah, if you start walking everywhere or riding your bike, then it adds up that you have like done several hours of cardio exercise in the week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the little things. It's just like daily habits of not avoiding movement because it's the natural tendency, I think, for people to be lazy or to be efficient in that kind of way, right?
And
Mhm,
then people also tend to think that well, it's gonna I'll save so much time if I drive my car there. But
mhm,
then actually, if you would have ridden your bike, you might have got there faster if
mhm.
it's somewhere by, because you don't have to stall at all the red lights and stuff like that.
Right, right. Yeah, I think it's viewing just daily routines in a more health conscious way
Mhm.
generally. Um, so how about diet? Like, what do you eat like?
Well, food is sometimes I go on these wild diets, but I'm not super healthy eater.
Okay.
So I kind of like um, I just eat what I like to eat, and then sometimes I feel bad conscious about it, and then I might eat well for a month, and then I might go back to the pizza. So I'm not. I'm sorry.
Oh
I'm
no
not a
no.
very eater.
Well, that's the thing. I don't expect anybody to be perfect in any domain, right? But the idea is that, like, you probably have damage control tactics, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what are your damage control tactics?
My cholesterol is kind of high,
Okay.
so I have to go to some more blood tests before Christmas. But it's not like up here. It's just like a little bit over the margin. But I've tried to like cut down on the fats now and eat more chicken and less red meat.
Hmm. So it's okay, but as far as like when you've been kind of eating in an unhealthy way for some time, like what do you? So that's one of the things you do, right? Like one of the things you're currently doing. You're just sort of like
Yeah,
cutting down on the fats. Okay. Do you have any?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually now I'm playing quite a lot of badminton, and
Mm-hmm.
my weight is slowly in a healthy way. It's going down. It's not like dropping 1 kilo per week. It's going like maybe half a kilos per week
Mm-hmm.
down. And yeah, and I've tried to like put less butter and on my sandwich and just like cut down on the fats to get my cholesterol down.
Interesting. Yeah, cholesterol is a tricky thing. Now, I'm not going to claim. I've coached people on like health coaching and stuff like that, but also I'm not a doctor, right? So I'm not going to play one on the internet. But like one thing that I've heard, as far as that's concerned, it's the. Have you ever tried a low carb kind of thing?
You mean like the Atkins diet?
More like keto.
Okay.
Do you know the distinction?
No, I haven't ever tried any special diets. I
Okay.
just use like an easy way to diet is to take a smaller plate
Mm.
instead of a big plate. So I just take like one size smaller plate and then I can fill it up with food, but it's anyway less than what I would have eaten before.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
And
first
mhm.
always the hardest, or maybe like the first 4 or 5 days, and after that your body gets used to the smaller amounts of food.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of ways of just rectifying dietary issues and like reducing calories or yeah, in general, reducing calories or foods that probably better not to eat. Uh, Oftentimes, people have luck like crowding them out, meaning like eat more of the foods that are healthy, so then
Mm.
it makes you just fuller and preventing eating too much of the stuff that isn't, like more vegetables.
Well, the best results I've got is I've sometimes used an app called Fat Secret,
Hmm.
and I've meticulous, and I've marked down the grams and how much I eat
Mm,
per each thing, and it counts the calories and the carbs, the fat.
good. I use MyFitnessPal. Uh, which is the same thing. And you can count all the food and stuff like that. I mean, I'm in a very particular program currently. I'm doing this thing from this book, Man 2.0, Engineering the Alpha. So it's I've done it like a few times, and every time I have great results. I recommend that book for anyone listening. But
You have
yeah,
to eat like you have to eat less than you burn. That's the
yeah,
thing about. I think there isn't really any of them. There isn't a magic diet that gets you instantly good results. But of course, there are different kind of body types, and different diets might work a little better. But for
yes,
me, it's like simple that I take a smaller plate of food
hmm,
and use a calorie calculator.
that's
And
good.
that's it.
Yeah,
And add maybe one time of sport each week
hmm,
more.
yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, it's those little habit changes that do everything. Um, I feel like, this is a bit more technical on the matter, but like hormonal issues,
Yeah.
if they're solved, it solves a lot of other issues. I feel like as far as diet and exercise are concerned, um, hormones play the major role. If your testosterone levels are good, growth hormone, and your insulin sensitivity is good, um, then things work out a lot better with the same effort.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, so I'm not so much into studying um, about these things. I just know what kind of works for me, and
Sure.
if I need to put my weight down, then I know how to do it because it's worked before.
Of
So
course, of course. And it's funny that, well, what's great about this is that there's many ways to do this. There's many ways to get healthier and to, for some, like for you, you're lowering your fat intake, which is dropping the calories significantly because it's 9 calories per gram. Um, and you're counting, right? So
yeah,
I think that's the counting is the most important part of that equation.
at the moment I'm not counting because
Hmm.
I'm just getting the results anyway because I'm doing more sport at the moment.
Okay.
But
Hmm.
sometimes if I've been really in a hurry and I haven't had so much time to go to the gym or go to play badminton,
Hmm.
then I've been counting calories because then it's more important because you're not getting the same sport. So
Right.
then you have to eat less
Right. The
if
food.
you
Hmm.
diet for a talk, diet for a photo shoot, or diet for a music video.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you have activity, then you can rest assured that a good amount of the food that you're eating is going to help you recover from that activity instead of just going and sitting in fat or anywhere else. Um, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. You have a way of going about it. Do you take supplements?
Um, I I do take sometimes a recovery drink, protein
Okay.
shake,
Hmm.
like with carbs and protein, but
Yeah.
just to, like after the workout. But
Hmm.
I haven't felt that I really need them because I don't have like these goals of growing huge. I have a small head, so if I would grow my shoulders a lot from here or my arms, it would look like a peanut. So
Yeah. I think as natural lifters, we don't have much of that issue of growing too big,
yeah,
right? But
yeah.
yeah, I hear where you're coming from. I have the opposite problem. So I try to like catch up to my head. Uh, um, cool, cool. So besides all of that, like how do you manage your time? Like because you have a lot of different projects. What does your day look like oftentimes?
Mm. The thing is that sometimes I have tons of projects, and then I'm like working from morning to evening,
Mm-hmm.
answering emails and arranging stuff. And sometimes I don't have anything, and then I can just like do whatever I want.
Right.
So, like, at times it's very hectic, and at times it's very relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
But like I own my own business, Dark Noise Production and Media Production Company. So if I get job offers, then I have to like take care of them.
Right.
And
Now, question: in your business, are you the sole employee? Are you
there are two of us,
okay?
me and another guy who own the company.
Okay.
But then I have lots of um, I know lots of like the film guys, like the director I mostly use, Esa Jussila. He actually got a lot of attention just at the Cannes Film Festival with his new movie trailer, and like he has his own business, so we have like just two small businesses that work together. So I have a lot of connections to in the industry in my area of all the guys that I know that are good at their jobs. So then if I like produce a music video, then I call this company and this company or this guy, and then I book the amount of guys that I needed to do the project.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Cool.
That's how it works a lot in the culture industry, that you don't get hired for 40 hours a week. You have to like have your own business, and then you get projects, and you have to try to make a living off those projects.
Yeah. 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 You end up being a freelancer.
Yeah.
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 That's just the nature of it. And essentially, it works for us as artists because like being in like an open temperament where we tend toward entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So, and you know, and you have all of the great thing about entrepreneurship is it's like it's in your hands. If you're on a 40-hour work week, you're getting paid this consistent amount. It's you don't get to leverage and you know do a lot of different things like you know that you can earn exponentially more over time, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's good to be an entrepreneur if you have the suitable personality for it.
Mm-hmm.
But as you probably know, as a musician, there are like tons of artists who are totally unorganized, and then I wouldn't recommend you to open.
Right.
Like you have to have like the nature of a producer, so that you can manage time schedules and budgets and stuff like that, and that you know that at the end of the year you have to pay taxes to the government, so you have enough of them, so you don't use all the money you get. You have to save some to pay the taxes off
Right.
and stuff.
Yeah, you have to be pretty responsible.
Yeah. So it's not for everybody, but
Right.
but if you can manage it, it allows you to have a free life, and you can live on your own terms.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, would you recommend musicians to develop conscientiousness, the quality that it takes to be an entrepreneur?
Yes, if you want to be a serious musician, it of course depends what genre you play. But if you play more technical stuff like I play, you have to be reliable, and if you have a band practice with somebody who's hiring you, you have to go there on time, and you have to be prepared to stay there the whole time of the rehearsals, and you have to like put the hours in before you go to the rehearsals. So there's lots of musicians also around who come around to rehearsals and they haven't done their homework, and kind of the same thing as running a business. You have to be professional.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to make a living as a freelance musician.
Right. And the only musicians that I can think of that are not freelance are like. Can I even think of musicians that are not freelance? I mean, most musicians are freelance.
Yeah.
I struggle to think of ones that are not, because when I do think of them, I'm like, oh wait, but technically the group that they're a part of are still freelancers.
Yeah.
Like wedding band or something like that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
or
So
house musicians, you know. But yeah, no, generally it's often not in our nature, but it's the very thing that'll ensure
they,
security for us.
you have to have a lot more luck if you want to play in a band like Mötley Crüe, that you're like totally reckless and unorganized and still make it. It
Right.
takes a lot more luck to to
Yeah,
make it.
sure.
Your type of personality. Um, so being professional and staying in control helps your dreams if you want to be a musician.
Yeah, yeah. You give yourself the best chance at succeeding in this industry if you really kind of if you take it seriously, right? You hire yourself, and you're actually your own boss, and you schedule your practice time and all those kinds of things. You know.
Yeah, of course, it has to be fun also.
Yeah.
But you have to like balance the professionalism and fun. It
Right.
can't be just fun and can't be just rehearsing. So it has to be like balanced.
Sure, sure. I mean, listen, the fact that we get to do what we love to do and get paid to do it is fun in its own way, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think we owe ourselves some respect. We owe the what we do some respect in that we take it seriously enough to rehearse and to do all the things properly that it takes, and we can't complain unless we've really put in that work, you know.
I did.
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you think as far as mindset is concerned? Is there anything that is particular for you that like you maintain your mindset with, or how do you perpetuate your career? Like what kind of thing do you do to maintain like a positive mindset or productive mindset?
Well, everybody has like bad days.
Mm-hmm.
Like today, I've had a pretty shitty day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like trying to schedule a music video
Mm-hmm.
for Simulacrum, and it's really hard because there's 7 of us, and we can get a day. It suits everybody, and then it suits the director. Everybody has bad days, but you have to try and just remember that tomorrow's a new day, and probably everything will be okay again.
Okay.
And then a great way of like getting rid of the shit is just to go jogging for 4 to 5 minutes.
Mm.
Like after 20 minutes, empties your brain,
Okay.
and then you just run and you don't think about anything.
Interesting.
And
So
then
what else do you do to de-stress?
to relieve stress, I don't listen to music because if you're working with music every day,
Mm-hmm.
that's not the way for me to relax at the
Mm.
end of it. So I usually have like one series on Netflix that I'm watching. At the moment, it's like Star Trek Discovery.
Mm.
I like sci-fi, like
Mm-hmm.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. TV is kind of good because you just like stare at it and you don't think much when you're doing it. So that's pretty good for me as a stress relief at the end of the day when I'm getting tired anyway. And also reading is pretty good.
Mm. What do you read?
Takes your at the moment I'm reading the Complete Chronicles of Conan the Barbarian by Robert E. Howard.
Mm.
Classic sword and sorcery stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
I also read science magazines and stuff like that.
Interesting. So you're into sci-fi, you're into like fantasy. Um,
Yeah, it's the stuff I grew up on, and I have a vivid imagination. So if I read The Lord of the Rings, I can really see it like a movie when I'm reading it.
right.
So I saw The Lord of the Rings before it ever came out as a movie in my head.
That's awesome. That's cool. Do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like I like the sci-fi and fantasy because usually they have stuff that is far enough away from reality that it gives you the stress relief, and I also like to read that what have these guys come up with, that what's going to happen in the future.
Right. Yeah, I think sci-fi has a very important place in our society in that regard. It really imagines our future. Then tech Mongols basically step in and make those things realities as the technology becomes available.
Yeah, that's how it actually works. So,
Yeah,
so like, an 80s sci-fi flick, there was like a picture phone, a video call, and that's what we're doing right now.
right. Yeah, it's funny. I remember seeing like I think it was a Joe Rogan interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson, right?
Yeah,
And Neil was saying that like he's like the most terrible predictor of the future because like he seen like he was watching Star Trek and he believed a lot of the stuff would come to fruition one day, but when he seen doors that doors that slide open, he was like,
yeah,
oh, we'll never have that. It's like, how do they even do that?
yeah.
That's like on every train.
The kind of frightening thing is that everything's coming to reality much faster than the science fiction guys thought,
Yeah.
except maybe Terminator 2. We didn't die
Yeah.
in '97, but
Right.
most of the things are like way in the future, but we already have the stuff that was imagined in the '80s that they would be in 2100 or something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting, what we have, lined up for our future, and the way that manifests itself in the music industry, especially in your world as a keyboardist, is probably pretty exciting.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff you can do on computers nowadays, but I'm anyway a pretty old school keyboard player. I like all the vintage stuff from the '70s, the Hammond organs, and the playing of like Keith Emerson and guys like that from the '70s prog scene.
Yeah.
And
Jorgensen.
yeah, but I've got familiar with the more modern stuff also. So if somebody really wants, like on a gent track or something, they want something really modern and sci-fi, I know how to do it.
That's good.
The Roland Cloud is a good tool for that. You pay a monthly fee, and then you can download all the VST keyboards they have, and there's all kinds for all needs.
And they keep them updated, I'm sure, if they're
Yeah,
on the cloud.
yeah, it's kind of like Adobe Cloud. You get all the Photoshops and the other Adobe tools like Premiere,
Hmm.
but it's like Roland Cloud, and they keep putting new keyboards, emulated old keyboards, and also futuristic stuff.
Hmm.
So that's um, a pretty good tool for keyboard players.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's something that at first when I noticed that companies are switching to this cloud-based thing or a monthly subscription-based model, I was a bit annoyed at that. You know,
Yeah, it has its good sides and it has its bad sides.
yes.
Uh, if you buy a software, then you're like stuck with it forever, and
Hmm.
maybe you don't forever.
Hmm.
But some there is like good to have forever, but um, but of course it adds up to a lot more money to pay these cloud services for many years,
Hmm. Right, right. They should offer both.
and a lot of stuff that you don't really need.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
I think if they offered both, that'd be great. It's like, let's say a software is like $300, but $30 a month or something like that. Well,
yeah,
if it's something you're just going to use, you find yourself using it a few months, then maybe just get it. right? But they don't even put that option out there. It's just
They make more money with the cloud services.
of course, yeah.
Yeah, so
It's that month.
that's why they
Mm-hmm.
bring to it,
That's
and they
mhm.
they are marketing just the good sides of it.
Right.
And of course, it does have pluses to it, but yeah, some softwares like Photoshop, I would like to be able to just buy as a single tool and use it for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that makes sense for something like that. It's just like you'll use that.
Yeah.
Right. On that note, um, subscription services are great tools for musicians these days. Patreon and some other platforms allow us to make some residual income, which would help, especially the band that just broke up. You were saying, what are they called? If they build a following that gave them a little bit of a residual income without touring, that would be definitely something that's helpful.
Yeah, there's lots of tools out there that can be utilized to bring in a small revenue, right? And like selling merchandise online is very easy nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't cost hardly anything to set up a web store, sell your t-shirts there. Then there's of course all the like Indiegogo, and buy the CD beforehand and get the money for it, and then ship it out when it's ready.
Yeah, the crowdsourced.
Yeah, and also getting grants. I don't know. In America, can you get culture grants for bands?
Nope.
Yeah. Finland and Scandinavia in general are pretty
And Canada.
culture loving. Probably Canada, yeah.
Yeah, and Canada, but the United States doesn't have that, unfortunately. We're missing a few social things that would be helpful.
You have to send Mr. Trump an email and see what or tweet.
Yeah, I don't know how that'll go over.
Applying for these grants is really easy nowadays because you can do everything online. So the internet has made lots of things a lot easier, but it has made it harder for bands to get really famous. In a way, it's easy to get a small following on the internet, but it's hard to get a big following because there is so much competition.
Right. So, well, one thing that I've noticed that helps a band or any company even to grow online is just to have a niche audience and also to maintain like a relationship with their fans, like a very solid relationship. But the niche thing is important because it's like, yes, you have all this competition, but if you sort of create the corner of the market that's yours, then you can rely on that. If you're doing something just a little bit different, it helps to do that.
Yeah, well, that's also a two-edged blade, because if you focus just on a niche market, like I'm actually doing with my prog band, it's very narrow, the sector of people who can be bothered to listening to half-an-hour songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely a niche market, but also you can't ever grow as big as a band like Foo Fighters.
Right. But that's a different big. Like, for example, there's you know the essay 1,000 True Fans?
No.
Very good essay. It's online, ready to read. Like, it's pretty short. It's a number of pages, but it talks about you only need 1,000 people who will invest $100 a year into you, essentially, to make a six-figure income from your music or from whatever you're doing. 1,000 True Fans, it's called, right? So I mean, you'll have peripheral fans, but people who are really invested, right? So it's good to have those like hardcore fans and to serve those people and to have things that are available for them to purchase, right? And tiers of different offerings that you can offer them.
Yeah. You're gonna have to send me this essay.
Sure.
I'm interested.
Yeah. If you just Google that, Google 1,000 True Fans, it'll come right up. It's definitely a really great strategy, and that a lot of people swear by to build loyalty in their following. I feel that that it's a good direction to take, because, and as far as like, responding to people online, that's where it becomes super important, and then letting a small group of people into some membership area of a website, maybe, where you have like a member only part of your website that charges $10 a month, or something negligible, $9. $9 is even better than 10, because it's a lot more like, oh, it's just $9,
Yeah.
It's like one digit.
Yeah, but of course, as a musician, you have to remember that the music has to be good first.
Oh yeah.
You can't ever get to that 1,000 true fans if your music isn't quality stuff.
Oh, so, of course, that comes first. Yes.
Put effort in that, and then when you have great songs, then you can focus on getting the 1,000 true fans.
Right. Now, to make good music, right? Well, what's your writing process? What's your, like, how do you get in the zone, and what's your method at that?
I may be kind of different from most rock composers.
Uh-huh.
I write everything as a score on piano. So I don't really play stuff in. I just like write notes on the computer. Make like this kind of like classical style.
Oh yeah.
Or
right. It's interesting. Yeah, my band does the same thing. Mm-hmm.
Who does? Who does the same?
My group, we do the same thing. In fact, my bass player doesn't write with his instrument in his hand. He just kind of puts the notes down.
Yeah, well, that's what I do also quite often.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, I always have my piano there to check stuff on. But and it sometimes I might hear a drum beat in my head, some kind of cool rhythm, and I might write that down, and then I might start building a riff for the guitar or keyboard top of it. Or sometimes it might start with the vocal line. Sometimes it might start with a cool chord progression. So
yeah.
I can't really say what my process is. It always starts from one of those.
Right. Well, I mean, you're explaining your process pretty clearly there, where it's just like you allow yourself free reign to just write what you're inspired to, and you're not just glued to an instrument and trying to, write from that perspective. You're open to however it comes to you, and you put that down.
I always write all the instruments.
Right.
And I might not write the vocal lines. Sometimes it's better to let the singer write the lyrics, and then he comes up with an idea for the melodies, and then we produce them together.
Mm-hmm.
I write all the other instruments into Finale, which is the scoring program.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I noticed that by writing them down as notes, as a score, it's much easier to create these big progressive songs with all the measure changes and all the stuff like that, and still make everything sound solid, so they sound like they belong together.
Right.
Easier to manage the whole picture of the song.
Right. And what I like about doing the process that you just explained, and having it written out, we use Guitar Pro, and when we're writing in there, we can hear essentially, like we've made the instruments in the program sound pretty close to our actual instrument, and so we can hear what things will sound like right away without having to learn it and play it, and we can tweak things like that, and slowly write out these things to really sound, as best as it can right out of the box. Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good side of it. Some people, of course, lots of guitarists, they just play riffs in, and some guys are really good at doing that, and they get solid songs out of it. But for me, it works better that I write the whole score into the program. And I think it would be kind of impossible to write a 15-minute song just by jamming. Maybe, except if you're maybe Dream Theater. But, I think if I would try and just play a 15-minute song in straight, then I think it wouldn't be interesting the whole 15 minutes. So I control everything much better when I write a score, and then I can like come back to it more easy, and I can see how the chords are changing, and it's more visual than just playing stuff in.
Right, and I think that method is also more conducive to recording, because you could just export the MIDI file from the software, import it into your DAW, into whatever you use, and like Pro Tools or whatnot, right? And then you have like the MIDI map, you have the click set up, and you already have some, I don't know if you're straight like importing the MIDI files or performing things,
I usually import the drums and the click track.
Yeah.
From Finale, and I bring it into Nuendo, which is kind of like big brother of Cubase, but it also has like videos, because I do the video stuff.
Sure.
And then I bring it into there, and then usually then me and my guitar player, we record on top of the program drums, and then we have a rough demo we can give to the drummer, and then he works on the drum tracks that I wrote. So I give everybody a little bit of freedom to make them sound more like them.
Right. That's cool. But it's a more of a streamlined process when you work through the software that you're working through. So that's a cool workflow.
Yeah.
Cool. And one thing you mentioned in your writing process there, it's kind of similar to ours, in that me and my bass player write the majority of the music, and we both write in this way where we both write all the instruments. And when, say, you're writing a guitar riff, and maybe that idea sort of like exhausts its like, how much came down to you as you were just writing it, and then you have an idea of a drum part, and the drum part you might have more ideas, and then that might perpetuate further guitar or a keyboard part, and it's just like they keep like rolling each other forward, and before you know it, you have a lot of music. So it's
that's how it goes, because it's easy to change the length of a note, and then it gets a different groove, the beat.
Yeah.
And then that's cool. So now I'm gonna do it on the guitar also. I'm gonna do a longer note there. It changes the feel. So it's very easy to experiment and like progress the riff.
Right. Also to write harmonies and stuff, because you see the notes right there. It's just it's very intuitive if you can whether you could read music and do it in like Finale like you're doing it, or doing it in a program like Guitar Pro, which has gotten a lot more advanced than it was before. But I hope they push it further.
Guitar Pro is perfectly all right.
Yeah.
For most guitarists, and you can get your songs written down. I think like Beast in Black, it's a pretty big band now, at least in Europe. I think they do songs with Guitar Pro. So
yeah, I spoke to them to Aerobus Music, the company that makes Guitar Pro, at NAMM this past year. Actually this January, I spoke to them, and I was speaking to some of their head people about like trying to get them to integrate with a DAW, so then I can open Guitar Pro as a plugin, within a recording software, and then or have things integrated and be able to send the tracks directly, through buses or whatnot.
Yeah, that's definitely a very cool idea. But I suppose that it would have full functionality over all the MIDI stuff, and it would like have to have both Steinberg and Guitar Pro, and they would have to work together. So I don't think Guitar Pro could just make a VST plugin that would do everything you want. So they would have to like integrate.
Well, what makes me think of that is like back in the day, I went to audio school at some point, and we used Reason. And Reason integrated well in any DAW. From what I remember, like you just open it as a plugin, and you can like route the tracks into the tracks of like of the DAW and create. You know, it'll just kind of send. And but yeah,
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, but there are things left to be desired as far as its integration for composition and recording purposes. As far as Guitar Pro is concerned, you know, the MIDI doesn't import perfectly. Still has some like issues that need to be rectified, program changes and stuff like that. So let's move on before people get like super bored about this technical speak. But I think it's you know, hopefully that moves on. Is there any kind of projects or ideas you're trying to get off the ground right now?
Well, because Eden's Curse quit, I'm thinking of maybe trying to start a similar type of band maybe next year, but I'm not sure about it. But I have this really good singer who wants to work with me from Stockholm, Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna say his name, but and then also a few pretty good guitar players are interested, but it's not as easy starting a new band anymore when you're 35. People have families and they have jobs and stuff, so they don't have the same maybe time and maybe not even the same enthusiasm they had when they were 20 to like start a band project. So, and maybe also it's people are also lazy that they don't want to play so much. They always play with the same familiar guys, so it's also a hassle to stop playing with new guys.
We could always look at Portnoy, who's like in a bunch of projects all the time, and you know, and it's always inspired stuff. So
yeah, they always have the same guys, and they always have Billy Sheehan and Derek Sherinian in every project. Maybe Portnoy should also give a chance to some new younger guys. Take them into some project.
Well, he has taken on. I mean, with Neil Morse, you know, taking Eric Gillette. Eric is he's a great dude. He's a fantastic guitar player. I was checking them out. I was on the Cruise to the Edge this year and last year, and that's just awesome stuff. You know, awesome to see those guys play. Neil Morse band.
Yeah. Kind of envious to be on that cruise. I would have liked to.
Go on it next year, man. I think that next one's in like May or something like that.
It's not so simple flying over from Finland and going on this cruise. It's a lot of money.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm a fan of travel, man, and so I make that a priority. You know, put money aside for that kind of thing. It's I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, travel is definitely cool, and of course I've seen a lot of countries while touring, but it's a little different than going on a holiday. Like 2 weeks in Germany, a bus, you don't see much of the cities, and all the cities get mixed up in your head, and you can't remember anymore which cafe was in which town and which bar was in which town.
Right.
So it's important to also do some holidays sometimes.
Sure.
Just go and relax.
So, Chris, I'm gonna like ask you some like more personal stuff that I normally kind of capture on this show, more like relationships and stuff like that. So, when you're on tour, who do you keep up with?
My family, and and my girlfriend. I usually call her every day when I'm on tour. Who else? Then of course, all my favorite bandmates back here in Finland. If I'm with Eden's customer tour, I send them into a WhatsApp group every day, pictures and messages, and asking how they are going on, how are they getting on here in Finland, and stuff like that. So yeah, but I would say that my close circle is like my girlfriend, my mother, my father, my brother, and some Finnish bandmates.
Right. Yeah, calling your girlfriend every day is probably a good thing to do. You know, if you're away for a period of time, you know, that's something you don't want to kind of, you know, leave alone too long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's good to stay in touch. Well, then she might start imagining what am I doing on this tour because I never call her.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you know, like what a partner of a musician can the things that can come to mind. You know, it's like, oh, here's this rock star out on the road, and I wonder what he's up to.
The movie The Dirt, you know, the Mötley Crüe movie. I don't know, have you watched that?
I haven't, but I heard of, like, you know, aspects of it. Yeah.
And that gives a lot of ideas to girlfriends at home. What are their musician boyfriends doing on tour? Yeah. And that's not the reality of what's happening.
Not in the prog world, man.
The bus, carrying your stuff in, doing the sound check, playing the show, having a few beers, and driving to the next town. So that's tour life for you.
Right. There's almost like, you know, there isn't much time for messing around like that. You know.
No. And if you get totally drunk after a show, then it's like total hell doing the next day show in a bad hangover.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing some serious, like, heavy duty traveling and work that's not easy. You know, it's like you're constantly like just being on the move like that, and you know. Yeah. So
there are, like, maybe I would say like 5% of musicians, they get wasted every day, and somehow they don't have a hangover the next day. But most musicians don't do that, and they can't do that because they would be dead at the end of the tour.
Yeah. I mean, some would say that, like, okay, you can party a little bit more when you're on this tour if you tour only once in a while, but if you're touring more often, then you have to treat it more sustainably. Yeah.
So then you maybe have a drink after the first show, and then maybe in the middle of the show, on the middle of the tour, when you maybe have a day off, and then maybe, of course, everybody parties when the last show is over.
Yeah. Do you?
That's maybe how I do it. So I might have just like 1 or 2 beers to calm down after a show, but if I'm gonna, I don't usually get really drunk except maybe after when the tour is over.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's good, and it's good to be, you know, to treat it well. The way I like to frame it is that, look, people come out to see me, you know, they pay their money, they sacrifice their evening to, you know, for me to put my best out there and to give them a great show. And if I'm not taking care of myself, and I'm being sloppy with my the way I'm approaching this whole thing, and I'm not putting my best self out there, then I'm selling myself short to those people, you know.
Well, that's how it is, and that's how most musicians think about things. But of course, as I said earlier, it depends what genre it is. So if you're playing like easy rock and roll, then maybe you can be a bit drunk or hangover and play it anyway good.
Yeah.
So,
depends on the world you're in. You succumb to temptation, you know, because like there are certain styles in our, well, not much in prog, but like in the rock world in general, you might find yourself, you know, with like girls thrusting themselves at you and all that kind of thing, and just yeah.
Power metal or or progressive metal, or hard rock even. If it's the old style of hard rock, like the 80s hard rock, then most of the fans there are like 50.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue.
Right.
50 old women throwing themselves at you.
Listen, I've had that happen, but
power metal or progressive metal, the only girls in the audience are usually like dragged by their boyfriends there to listen to these bands.
Reluctantly, yeah.
I was surprised how many women were at the Symphony X gig I saw in Helsinki. I think it was in May.
Mm-hmm.
There was pretty many women there, and I was surprised about that.
Listen, Russell Allen, you know.
Yeah. Good voice.
Great voice, and he's like huge dude, and you know, it's. I think Symphony X has a higher. They have more women in their demographics than some other prog bands do.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't been to many Symphony X shows, but now I was at least surprised how many women there were there.
Yeah.
But it was they did a great job. And they really enjoyed themselves, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean that's one thing that whether there is women or there isn't women, you have to still put on a good show, and you have to be there for them, and not over party essentially. So, do you have like a particular long-term goal for your career?
Well, I think it was more clear when I was like 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I somehow imagined that when I got to the point I am at now, that I like played big venues to like many thousands of people in London, then I kind of envisioned that I have a Ferrari. So I like got to the place I wanted to get when I was 20. But like the financial side is not what I imagined.
Right.
So I think the vision of my career was more stronger back then, but it turned out it wasn't quite accurate. Of course, I want to improve as a player, and I want to. It's all about experiences for me. So. Experience is more important than the financial side for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I like traveling.
Yeah, and like playing for a big crowd in London, that's not what many people get to experience in their life. So I have to be very grateful for those moments. And of course, I want more moments like that in the future.
Sure. I think it's what we do that we remember, not what we have. So those things don't last, but the memories of the experiences definitely do last. So that's a great thing to reach for. And I'm sure, your business savvy approach, your marketing and all of that will lead you where it needs to lead you financially. We figure things out. You say you're 35 in a way like, oh, I'm old now, but fundamentally we're still kids, right? So you have quite a time ahead of you.
I don't think I'm ever gonna like age in here. I'm always gonna be
musicians don't age.
I'm always gonna be that 20-year-old guy, but maybe with more experience.
Yeah.
And more expectations.
And gray hair, Yeah, I always say musicians don't age. My band is made up of people of varying ages, and we're all kind of on the same page. So I hear that.
If we get back to the sports, so if you do the sports a lot, then it's gonna keep you a little younger.
That's true.
Years younger, and also if you eat well, but I can't. I haven't.
It's what you do most of the time that matters, not like you got to live, you know, because if you spend all your time, let's say you get super strict about your diet, but you're a foodie, you enjoy food, you're going to be stressed out all the time because you're not going to be having the things you want.
Actually, I enjoy food more than sports, more than drinking. I think it's actually one of the top things that I really enjoy, eating something very nice.
Yeah. What are the things you like to eat?
Maybe that's why it's like hard for me to stay on a strict diet.
I hear that.
But I like really well made simple food like steak and chips.
Yeah.
But then maybe like 4 times a year I like to go to a really like a 5-star fine dining Michelin place. Experience new tastes that I've never tasted befor.
Yeah, it's a great treat. It's a great thing to treat yourself with.
Look like you just got a foodgasm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm always... here's the way I approach it, right? If you count calories and you do these kinds of things for some time, you get a feel for things, right? And then you can let yourself go here and there without falling off of your... without becoming unhealthy or even falling off of your goals.
Yeah.
And I fast, and fasting really helps me enjoy the foods that I want to eat, because then I can eat something great and then just not eat, and I'm okay with doing that.
Yeah, that requires some spine and a strict mental ability.
Oh yeah, at first, but it's something you get used to doing, and then it becomes like part of the lifestyle. So that's something that's helped me eat not only foods that I love to eat, but in pretty big amounts.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course, like it's good to go to the doctor like every 5 years and take the blood tests, because I didn't expect myself to have high cholesterol, but I did, and I'm not particularly. I'm pretty lean, so like cholesterol and looking lean, it doesn't. You might have high cholesterol and weigh.
Right. I'm weary of the cholesterol thing, because it's just like there's good and bad cholesterol, right? And sometimes you can have a healthy diet and it shows high cholesterol, but there's no risk factor associated with having it.
Yeah.
So it's something that sure I'd be mindful of, but also don't take it as a grim diagnosis. So.
Yeah, if it's only a little bit over, I'm sure I'm not going to die.
No.
But it's a good indicator anyway that, okay, maybe I should cut on the hard fats for a while.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I eat half a pound of beef almost every day. And but in the context of the other things that I'm doing, it makes sense, because of like that helps optimize hormones. I'm eating organic beef, which is actually a good amount different than not. But it's a tricky topic that I won't get into too much right now. But it's even something like a little high cholesterol is not really something to be overly worried about. Not at 35, at least.
Yeah.
You're not at risk for heart attack. I wouldn't think.
Well, I don't think so either. But I think it's good to take the basic blood tests every 5 years.
Yes.
And
I think everyone should be.
Your kidneys okay. And stuff like that also, so it's not just cholesterol.
I think tracking in general, tracking anything is helpful. So like you're tracking calories once in a while, then you're sort of, it keeps you mindful and keeps your attention to what you're doing, right? So you when you have to count what you're eating, it makes you think about what you're eating, right? It brings your mind to it. If you're tracking your practice time, it makes you mindful of that. If you're tracking, let's say you're doing blood work, right? That's a form of tracking. It just keeps you mindful of that. So anything you want to change, you should be tracking. As far as I'm concerned, if you're trying to improve your financial situation, you should be tracking how much money is going in versus out. You know.
I'm not always good at that. I'm
Yeah,
good. I'm good at keeping a budget if I have like a music video project, but I'm not always good at with my own money.
I hear that. I hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah, mhm.
I want, and then I might buy it,
For the amount
even
of
if I
mhm.
can't afford it.
For the amount of like books and information I've consumed on those topics, I should be better at it than I am. I'll leave it at that. Well, all right. Hope.
Like new bands coming to town,
Yeah.
and then it's like 75 euros. Well, like fuck it, I'm gonna pay it anyway.
Listen,
So
I'm a lot less reluctant to spend money on experiences like going to a nice show or something like that than I am like, let's say, buying a piece of gear.
yeah,
You know, I ask myself a million times before buying something as far as gear is concerned. I just got an Axe FX3 and it's amazing. So that was a worth it purchase. I bought it off a friend. Um,
okay,
yeah, yeah. So those things, but it's rare. I had the Axe FX1, the Ultra, like since
yeah.
2009, and so I just gotta, like it I used it to its last dying breath. It was like making weird noises.
You'll probably buy the next one then, XFX5 in 2020.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like whenever that thing comes out, maybe in another 10 years. Like how you. All right, man. If there's, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you'd want to kind of share?
Well, the thing, so we've been talking like 1.5 hours, so
Uh huh.
lots of top covered. Um, if somebody watched this to the end, then you can go and check out my website at www.chrism.vip,
Hmm.
and then check out my bands also, Simulacrum, Adamantra, Epicrenel, and then also, if you're interested, you could listen to the Eden's Curse Cardinal album I was featured on. It's a really good album also, so even if the band quit, the music's still out there to be heard.
Awesome. If you've been granted one message you can share with all musicians, what would it be?
Well, just be humble and work for it. Nothing comes like this. So you have to put the mileage into it if you want to succeed. And also, an important message actually is that musicians are very lazy, in my opinion, to going to each other's shows.
Mm.
They're all interested in just performing by themselves, but other musicians should also support each other by going to check out the shows and paying the ticket. Because anyway, in Finland nowadays, for rock music and metal music, I think the audiences are going a little down. So I think
Mm.
now is the time for other musicians to support each other.
Oh, noted, noted. That's a great tip. That's a great tip. I'm definitely guilty of that one.
Yeah,
All right, Chrism, it's been awesome speaking to you, and I'll be keeping up with you and seeing, what you have going on.
yeah, cool.
All right,
It
man.
was nice getting to know you and
Yeah,
chatting.
yeah, definitely. Listen, if you come to New York, I'm going to take you to some good pizza places.
Yeah, maybe a fine dining restaurant
Yes.
also.
All right, man. All right,
Okay.
cheers. Have a good one,
Yeah,
man.